A solution for peace between Israel and Palestine offers no clear-cut solutions and challenges on every side. Mike Daly of Interfaith Peace Builders and author Mark Braverman discuss possible solutions and what is essential for peace.
But what makes you most hopeful? I mean, you have a very clear message of calling out to the United States people to raise their consciousness and activism here. But what makes you most hopeful that you actually think you will see a peaceful solution in Israel and Palestine?
There is small and so far politically not very powerful, but deep-rooted nonviolent resistance to injustice. That lives deep in the human spirit. It's ultimately bigger and more powerful than governments. And that's what's going to ultimately prevail. It may take a long time. There may be more blood. In the meantime, there will be a lot of very difficult, unworkable political solutions that will be attempted. But nothing's going to work until people's dignity on both sides is respected. The Palestinians need to have full civil and human rights. Israelis need to stop, cannot continue to live behind the walls of a fortress, which is how they live now. So that ultimately is not going to work, and people will not be able to put up with it forever. But I really think it needs to, we have one world now. It's one global community. And that's why it's so important for people to go over there and come back and say, here's what I saw, here's what's really going on, we all know what this is, we all know what this means, and we all need to stay connected and support those elements there in the region that are working in that direction.
What makes you most hopeful? You've done a lot, you've traveled many years, and so you've had a historical perspective of getting to talk to people on the ground over a period of years. What makes you most hopeful coming back from this delegation that you could actually see a peaceful solution, no matter when it would be, but what makes you most hopeful of seeing a peaceful outcome for the region?
A couple of things give me hope. The first is that more people than ever want to go on our delegations. And I feel like there are several reasons for that. One of them, the Gaza war last year, actually a year ago this time, I think introduced to sort of new elements of mainstream America just what the disparities there are, and more people sort of wanted to go and check out what's happening. This growing and sort of, still taking baby steps, movement in international civil society. There's a growing movement, I haven't actually said the word, but for divestment and boycotts and sanctions, which is modeled 100% on the anti-apartheid struggle. And saying that a nation state that has practices that are not in keeping with the international community standards, that are clearly violating human rights, needs to be sanctioned internationally by divesting from stock in companies that profit from occupation or from subjugation. But that gives me hope, the fact that this, in an international forum, more and more people are seeing the clear disparities there and wanting to take action. And I think at the end of the day, the fact that the vast majority of Israelis and the vast majority of Palestinians wake up in the morning and go about their lives. And remember, the Palestinians are living under occupation. They're confronted with a military presence anywhere they go. To go see grandma, to travel from here to Bethesda, you'd have to go through 3-4 checkpoints. And the vast majority of the people who wake up there go about their lives, want to live a normal life, express themselves politically through nonviolent means. I mean, I think waking up in Palestine is a nonviolent act. Not going to the checkpoint, not shooting a soldier, it's a nonviolent act. And to see those kids who are growing up and to know that they're suffering from oppression, but to see that they still see a future and they still want to work for peace and justice. And justice is a key word. They don't just want peace, they want justice. That gives me hope. That gives me hope that everyone there most of the people there see a future and are working for a future, a constructive future for both peoples. I can't imagine the violence that they live under or the fear that Israelis live under. I mean, that's not something that in my day-to-day life here in DC I experience. And yet the vast majority of the people there are working for, are hoping for, are striving for a better future. And we have to support them in those efforts. We have to do what we can here in America to support those voices, to bring their stories here, to get that international civil society movement even bigger and stronger.
Everyone isn't going to go to Israel and Palestine. You have a certain number of people who are going to go on delegations and find that interesting, but there's some people who are going to be concerned about conflict situations locally. It could be conflict in Northeast Washington or in some other state or another country. What do you find is like a salient takeaway in a sense of what would you say that is applicable to anyone that is seeking peace?
I've never quite gotten that question before.
Good.
So it's a good one. It just occurs to me that, I mean, I think an essential component of peace, which is really what you're asking, you know, whether it's applicable here or there, this has been a little bit overused in the last 18 months, but is the capacity to change, right? To protest and to air my views against that big corporation that's denying me my rights, or against the government, against whatever it is, to fight whatever oppression is out there, for peace and for justice. But I think that anyone who's truly seeking peace is looking for justice, and they believe in the capacity of humans to relate to human stories, and to work for a better future. And there's a lot of education that has to go on. I think Americans are pretty much uniformly miseducated on this issue. But everyone that we go and most people that we go and talk to, once you learn the facts and you learn that it's a political dispute, again, just talking about this conflict, you can change them. And you can show them the need for peace and the need for equality. So I think that capacity to change, the belief in that change is a very key point.
I think the global community, civil society concept that Mike and I are both talking about is really important. Americans need to get out of their bubble, need to understand what's going on in the rest of the world. Going to Africa, going to Asia, going to the Middle East is the best way to do it. Going to Latin America is the best way to do it. But in the schools, in the seminaries, in the universities, in the churches, in the synagogues, in the mosques, to bring in speakers, to see movies, to educate ourselves and to become aware, that's the key.
While it is true that finding peace is challenging, history proves that the greatest human challenges are always met. Forging peace challenges fears and deeply held assumptions and requires a willingness to connect at the level of human dignity in a way that transcends every division, nationality, ethnicity, and religion. When peacemakers bring that willingness to the negotiation table, they plant the seeds for peace. For more information on interfaith peace builders, go to www.ifbp.org and visit www.markbraverman.org for more information on his book, Fatal Embrace: Christians, Jews, and the Search for Peace in the Holy Land. Of course, no discussion would be complete without hearing from you. So please visit the website, www.indepthwithhanukkah.tv, and share your ideas. Thank you for watching. I'm Hanukkah Dunson, and please join the conversation.